Dane. I'm a member of the Cha'ak, Eagle Moiety of the Shunkukadi or Thunderbird clan from the Dry Bay area in Yakutat, Alaska. I'm also a trustee of the Sealaska Heritage Institute. We are sponsoring Celebration 2002 and a board member of Sealaska Corporation. As you can see on your TV screen, I'm joined here in Juneau by hundreds of Alaska Natives from all across the state of Alaska and a number from the lower 48. We come together once every 2 years to celebrate our culture and to honor our ancestors. For the next 3 days, we'll be dancing, singing, and telling our stories, both to honor our ancestors, to share our heritage, to teach our children, and to reaffirm the people that we are. It's kind of hard to believe, but 20 years have passed since we had our first celebration here in Juneau. The incentive for the celebration started in 1980 when we had a meeting of Sealaska elders sponsored by Sealaska Corporation in Sitka, Alaska. And one thing they told us they wanted us to do was to help preserve and perpetuate our culture. In response, Sealaska Corporation started the Sealaska Heritage Foundation, and in 1982, Sealaska Heritage Foundation organized the first celebration. That very first celebration drew 12 dance groups and about 150 people. I was privileged and honored to happen upon that first celebration. It was held out at the Tlingit and Haida Community Building near Lemon Creek. And I actually didn't know what was going on. I just went out for lunch and found that we were celebrating our culture. I've been to every one since, and it has only grown bigger and better. Today, Celebration is one of the largest Native cultural gatherings, not only in the state of Alaska, but in the country. This year we'll have 42 dance groups and more than 1,600 dancers who will participate in Celebration. What you're watching right now is the grand entrance, the procession of the drummers. They'll be singing, and all of the dancers that will participate in Celebration will be entering into the stage and onto the areas to the right and left of the stage. Our theme this year is Ha'atu, our treasures. Ha'atu refers to our most prized clan possessions. You will see a lot of our Ha'atu on stage, particularly from some of the village dance groups, some of the tribal clan dance groups. Our clan possessions are owned by the clans. They're brought out for significant events such as potlatches. Various designs that you see on the regalia worn by the dancers are also our ha'atu. The crests are owned by our clans. They're our most prized possessions and are central to our social and religious life. We certainly hope that you enjoyed this presentation of Celebration 2002 and that you help us honor our elders who had the vision to urge the preservation of this culture that we cherish. look at some of the beautiful regalia that is there on stage right now. Right now you're watching a killer whale hat carved out of wood. Part of our Ha'atu, which is the theme for this celebration. The regalia that you see on right now, the black and red robes, are very traditional and referred to as button blankets. They come in a variety of colors. Typically on the back, you will see clan crests that identifies who we are. For example, my clan is the Thunderbird clan, or Shankukedi, out of the Dry Bay, Yakutat, Alaska area, and we're represented by a clan of the Thunderbird. We are part of the Eagle Moiety. The Eagle Moiety is one of our two important clans in the Tlingit Nation. The Haida and the Tsimshian also have clans, but have more clans than we do. The Raven clan or Raven Moiety is the other side of who we are in southeast Alaska. And you'll see ravens and eagles decorating our regalia. The procession is bringing in all of the dance groups that are participating here in Celebration 2002. We have 3 days worth of dance performances. The dance groups represent a variety of our clans and actually a variety of nations. We have the Hawaiian Nation represented here this year. We have had the Hawaiian Nation represented here in the past, and we are extremely pleased to welcome them back. Sealaska Corporation has had a long-standing relationship with the Hawaiian Nation. Back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, Sealaska Corporation donated 2 very, very large trees to the Hawaiian people so they could continue their tradition of building large ocean-going canoes. They brought one of their canoes here to southeast Alaska a number of years ago. The relationship has been strong ever since. This procession will go on for quite a while. There are some interesting pieces of regalia come up. I'll be breaking in to kind of explain it to you. We also have a number of our dignitaries. The president of the Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska, Edward Thomas, is up on our stage. I understand we're also very fortunate to have LaDonna Harris, the president of the Americans for Indian Opportunity, and a group of her leadership group here in Juneau Celebration. Part of our dignitary officer of Sealaska Corporation. He's up on the stage with Robert Davidson, world-renowned Haida artist. I've seen in our audience Representative Renee Jewell, who is from Kotzebue. Part of our dance groups also include our children. Our children come from other areas. My 2 children, Austin and Alexander, 8 and 10 years old, are also children of the Athabascan Nation out of the Copper River area. A lot of my Thunderbird cousins are representatives also of tribes in the lower 48, representatives of various of the Inupiaq and Yupik nations, Athabascan nations, Aleut. My late father, Clifford Anderson, was of the Aleut Nation. His family came from Nunchek on Hinchinbrook Island in Prince William Sound. You just saw a paddle go by, a traditional Tlingit paddle. The Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people are all ocean-going people. We would travel great distances in canoes and would paddle those canoes with paddles like those that you just saw go by. We use them now as part of our dance groups, part of our performances. There's some wonderful dance performances you'll see in the next 3 days that feature the paddle and rowing. We also see how much a part buttons play regalia. Right now you're seeing a beautiful hat go by with beading and buttons. Headgear is a real prominent part of how we portray ourselves. And you'll notice quite a mixture of young people and elderly people. We cherish our elders, we respect them and we revere them, and we are grateful for their teaching. A lot of the regalia that you see today did not exist 20 years ago when we started Celebration, but through the efforts of a large number of elders and their students, we have taught a lot of our younger people how to make their own regalia. And Sealaska Heritage Institute just recently sponsored a juried art show because we want to elevate the quality of our art. And part of that elevation of the quality is to be able to create some of those fantastic hats that you've been seeing wander by you. They are carved out of wood with clan crests. Robert Davidson and Aldona Joanitis were two jurors for our juried art show. Robert is I mentioned, a very prominent world-renowned Haida artist, and will be conducting a workshop to help us teach some of our artists how to produce very high-quality art. The Alaska State Museum is hosting right now the juried art show, and I encourage you, if you're in Juneau, to go over to the Alaska State Museum and take a look at the fine work that was prepared and presented by our Alaska Native artists for our juried art show. The drum that you're looking at right now is typically made out of moose hide or deer hide, dried and stretched, painted with clan crests. The drumming accompanies the singing. And you'll see a lot of excellent samples of drums on the stage right now. And believe it or not, we are probably not even halfway through this grand entrance to Celebration 2002 held in Juneau, Alaska. We have a lot of dance groups coming in. As I mentioned earlier, we have probably 42 different dance groups and more than 1,600 dancers who will be coming into Centennial Hall here in downtown Juneau. It has taken us a pretty significant amount of time in past years to bring us all in. We'll be showing you the dancers as they proceed in. I have to marvel at the stamina of the singers and the drummers that are up there, because they come in first and they dance during the entire procession. They sing and drum during the entire procession, and their energy never seems to wane. some fine examples of spruce root hats, one of the art forms of the Tlingit and Haida and Tsimshian people of southeast Alaska. Spruce root is a very, very difficult medium to work with, and that was one of the almost lost arts that has been revived. As you look at some of the headgear that goes by, the spruce root hats are hand woven. A lot of them have some tremendous designs that are painted on them, but for the most part they can be unadorned, but their simplicity is part of their wonderful charm, and the gathering of the materials and how they're put together is an art that is being taught. One of our premier artists and a former Sealaska Heritage Foundation trustee, Dolores Churchill, was one of the jurors for the juried art show, and she has conducted workshops, classes, and seminars all over the world to try and perpetuate the art of spruce root basket and hat weaving. The Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian nations are representative both of Canada and southeast Alaska. We have people that have spread out all over the world, but our major communities are here in southeast. A little bit earlier, you were watching Dr. Rosita Whirl welcome some of those dance groups, particularly from her home community. Dancers from Klukwan and Haines, members of the Shungkukedi, my clan, were dancing through, and Dr. Whirl was welcoming them. She also welcomed dancers from Sitka, one of our large communities. Typically sends a number of dance groups, has a very, very aggressive youth program, has a couple of youth groups dancing every biennial celebration. You are watching Celebration 2002. This is a biennial celebration of Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people, held every other year since 1982 in Juneau, Alaska. For the past few years at Centennial Hall in downtown Juneau. Procession has been going on for quite a while. We call this our grand entrance. Our dancers dance in, drummers are on stage. We're filling the wings of Centennial Hall. I'm not quite sure how many of our estimated 1,600 dancers will be coming in. Right now you're seeing an excellent example of a dance paddle. Very, very, very elaborate in its carving and art. Right in front you can see the spruce root hats that I was referring to, and just behind was a beautiful ermine shakyat, one of our cultural treasures. Wooden carved hat on screen right now. Art objects like that have been highly prized by museums, and very early on in our history were taken from us or purchased from us. But right now we've been developing numerous artists who are producing wonderful, wonderful new ha'atu. In front of you, you have one of our adopted clan members, Lieutenant Governor Fran Ulmer. She has been to most of the celebrations that I have been to. You can see her dressed in a button blanket with a hat on. And dancing in with many of our others. One of our volunteers there, Ray Austin. Oh, there's a wonderful, wonderful hat. And you see the little spruce root baskets on top. Those were, in the past, indicative of the number of prominent potlatches that the hat had been brought out at, topped by ermine. That is definitely one of our very, very treasured. I think that's the Angoon dance group coming in right now. Those items that you're looking at get brought out very, very rarely, but they've been brought out for celebration for years. This is a prominent event. You will not see hats like that used anywhere except for potlatches involving their clans and for celebration. The Angoon group puts on a tremendous, tremendous performance every year. See the quality of their regalia, the quality of their hats. Right now you're looking at a shakyat with Just the second one, it has abalone. Abalone is a traditional material used in a lot of Northwest Coast art. On top, those little strands you see coming out of the various shakyats are sea lion whiskers. And the dancer coming in right now, you can see with a raven's tail. Looks like a blanket. Very, very prominent piece of ha'atu. Takes a long time to weave a blanket. They're only used for ceremony. They're not brought out for non-traditional uses. And again, I want to point out the mixture we have of elders, young people, men, women, and they're all energetic about being here for 3 days to celebrate the cultures of the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people. Again, look at the wonderful quality of the carved hats that are coming by right now. There are a variety of ha'atu worn. I've explained a little bit about the button blankets that you see. There are a lot of examples on stage right now. We also have tunics. Over there in the corner, you're looking at Tlingit and Haida President Ed Thomas and our Miss Tlingit and Haida. We have representatives from our various Southeast Alaska groups. You just watched a former Grand President of the Alaska Native Sisterhood dance by. We have representatives from all over the state of Alaska who come in here. You saw earlier Lieutenant Governor Fran Ulmer. Representatives Al Kukesh and Reggie Jewell are in the audiences right now. Representative Kukesh up on stage. Marlene Johnson, a Sealaska Heritage Institute trustee and a former longtime chairperson of the Sealaska Corporation, is up there welcoming dance groups here. And you can see they're still trailing on in. Some more examples of button blankets. A lot of the buttons that you'll see on the blankets are also made out of abalone. Quite striking. Abalone buttons are sometimes used to outline the clan crest on the backs of the button blankets. And you can see the energetic young people who are imitating their adults and their elders. That's how we teach them. We bring them here, we show them how celebrations happen. And they show up as teenagers and young adults and as adults to participate in celebration. Some of the very young people that we had back in 1982, 1984, 1986 are back now as adults and leading their dance groups, teaching their relatives, and some of them soon be teaching their own children. Now it looks like you'll be seeing some members of the Anchorage group coming in. Anchorage typically sends a couple of performing groups down to celebration. And those groups, like I mentioned earlier, will often include representatives of tribes from all over the lower 48. And speaking of tribes from all over the lower 48, we have here the president of the National Congress of American Indians, Ms. Jackie Johnson. Jackie is a board member of the Sealaska Corporation. She sponsored and helped run a culture camp up in Haines for years and years and years. Taught her family, just like many of us are teaching our families. And I know she's very happy to be back in Juneau for celebration. Next week she goes off to, I believe it's North Dakota, for the NCAI mid-year convention. Another elaborate dance battle coming by you right now. Now, sometimes Southeast Native people work in animal skin, so you're seeing a tunic that was actually made out of, looks like an animal skin. Now, one thing that Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people are prone to do is to show off when they dance. Friendly competition. And so you'll see some of the young men and some of the older men that come in here really showing off their dance stuff. That'll be even more evident when we go into the actual performances. Right now we're trying to get quite a number of people into Centennial Hall, so you won't see the elaborate dance that you'll see a little bit later. You're looking at some of our beautiful young women, and you've been looking at some of our handsome young men. Some of our songs and some of our dances also involve flirtation. That'll be kind of fun when we actually go on live with some of our dance performances and some of our young people's groups. And you're looking at a couple of tunics up on stage towards the left right now. Tunics are made out of the same materials and have some of the same clan crests. The woman wearing the white tunic also has an octopus bag, that bag with the tentacles hanging down. I don't know if you can see the detail, but the beading is beautiful, just incredibly elaborate. Those are also quite prized possessions. There are a couple of them up on stage, but you don't see a lot of them. The work is pretty intricate. A fine example of the ha'atu that we cherish as Pacific Northwest Coast people, Southeast Alaska Natives, Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian. Now, I mentioned the elaborate beading that goes into those bags, but you will see on a lot of the button blankets, there are also some pretty elaborate beading crests that are on. Kind of hard to see the real good examples of it, but a good beaded crest will take hundreds of hours to do. And that's one of the reasons why we prize our ha'atu so highly. Clans would commission very prominent artists from the other side. As I explained earlier, as a Thunderbird, I'm a member of the Eagle Moiety. When I had my Thunderbird done on my tunic, I had to commission an artist from the opposite clan, Raven, to do the beading for my Thunderbird. That's in keeping with traditional protocol that our elders have taught us, knowledge that's been passed down from generation to generation. We'll be talking about some of that when we go on live with some of our dance presentations. We'll be talking to artists like Robert Davidson, Archie Cavanaugh Jr., others who have been prominent in the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian art communities. There's a nice example of a white tunic going by right now, followed by button blankets. And then there you see a tunic covered up by a button blanket. And we still have our dancers coming in to Celebration 2002. Biennial celebration of the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people held in Juneau, Alaska. There's one of our young folk dancing in a very comfortable way, being carried. And look at that elaborate mask and the tunic that the young fellow's wearing. Okay, we may be nearing the end. It's hard to say. There's a little bit of anticipation in the crowd right now. I think I understand what's happening. Very shortly you will see our Hawaiian guests coming in. I think I saw a gourd drum being raised, so very shortly you will see our Hawaiian guests entering. That's what the applause and the anticipation is about. Traveling thousands of miles to come visit us in our home country. I believe they've been sent over by the Bishop Trust. Now they begin to come on board. That drum that you're looking at is a traditional gourd drum. And you see the colorful shirts. Sealaska Heritage Institute trustee Marlene Johnson is down on the floor greeting the Hawaiians as they come in. SHI President Dr. Rosita Whirl up on the stage welcoming the Hawaiians. Okay, now you can see what I've been seeing for about a minute or two now. The young men behind doing a little bit of choreographed dancing of the Hawaiian style. We're going to be in for a wonderful treat when they perform for us. The Sealaska Heritage Institute has owed and acknowledged a debt to the Hawaiian people. A number of years ago, the Board of Trustees visited the Hawaiian people to take a look at their language immersion program. The Hawaiian language was in the same state as our languages, our Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian languages. That is, most of our speakers were elderly, and the language was not being transmitted. The Hawaiian people opened their arms to us, brought us into their language immersion programs, brought us into their university, and showed us how they had resurrected their language. We were very privileged to meet the first young man who grew up speaking Hawaiian as his first language. He had been in immersion schools for all of his life. His mother and father had pioneered the immersion method. Oh, now it looks like they're going to face the audience a little bit and perhaps perform for us. But the Sealaska Heritage Institute adopted many of the innovations that the Hawaiians and the Maoris had initiated. And as a result, we're proud to say we have a lot of our young people now in language immersion programs, and the Tlingit language is well on its way to being revived. We've had the Haida language classes, and we're working with the Tsimshian people to try and ensure that Tsimshian remains alive as a vibrant language.
Welcome, Rainbow Dancers!
Now the Hawaiians are in front of the stage, and a lot of our dancers are dancing by them right now. I think it's wonderful how our young men and our young women are embracing our culture. I think we've got a long, bright future with the enthusiasm that they've shown. And I have to credit Celebration with a lot of the revival of Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian cultures. You see the beautiful motions of the Hawaiians, the language that they are speaking through their dance. And although you can't see it from here, the dancers are still continuing to come through the front doors of Centennial Hall Main Ballroom. And you can tell that their enthusiasm is still high. They waited a long time to come on in. There you're getting a shot of Centennial Hall in Juneau. The entire Hawaiian delegation was just on your screen. And the dancers are coming in from my left. That's the scene you're looking at right now. They continue to come in. You can see the crowd of people that have gathered to watch. Not a whole lot of people can actually fit into Centennial when the dancers are coming in, but up front we have our reserve seating for our elders. We have a great deal of respect for our elders. When they held their conference in Sitka in 1980, they did a publication called Because We Cherish You. They were speaking to us, their children and grandchildren. There you're looking at Representative Albert Dukesh and Jackie Johnson, President of the National Congress of American Indians. In the Chilkat blanket, Dr. Rosita Whirl, President of the Sealaska Heritage Institute. Marlene Johnson, energetic as ever, is just on the bottom part of your screen greeting the dancers as they come by. Now, the Tlingit and Haida Central Council at their annual convention that was just concluded in May had a number of Tlingit elders. I want to break in, and there is Nora Dowenhauer, one of our treasures. She was a longtime employee of the Sealaska Heritage Foundation. Her and her husband, Dr. Dick Dowenhauer, have published a number of books while working for the Heritage Foundation that have helped perpetuate our language and preserve it. Nora and Dick have been working for probably 30, 40 years on Tlingit language materials and are responsible for much of what we have prepared and preserved and are now using in our language programs. But as I was explaining, the Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indians decided during their past convention in May to honor a number of our living treasures, artists, people who have contributed to the perpetuation of the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian cultures. Sealaska Heritage Institute trustee Clarence Jackson was one of those honorees. We also have in our audience Harold McKinley, who is also honored, and a number of others. And there are our Hawaiian guests, welcoming the dancers from all over Southeast Alaska, Anchorage, the lower 48 as they come on in. We have communities that have come in from far as San Francisco to participate. Seattle and biennially sends a number of their dance groups, and it's amazing how much the culture has revived in the Seattle area. Some of the drummers on stage, they've been drumming now for probably 40 minutes, and you can still see they have a lot of energy left. The crest on the drum on the right is the killer whale, and it looks like an eagle just behind the fin of the killer whale. Now you're watching Al McKinley, Alfredo. He's got on a green tunic, which is a color that is used. Black and red are the predominant colors. Yellow is used quite a bit in Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian art, but you can see the striking green tunic that Al McKinley is wearing. And look at that incredible headpiece. Now you're watching another Chilkat blanket coming through. Chilkat blankets are also a reviving art among the Tlingit people. Good artists will often take a year to weave a Chilkat blanket. For that reason, it's a very highly prized piece of ha'atu, the living art and culture of Southeast Alaska Native people. There's our living treasure, Clarence Jackson. And you can see that Clarence is wearing quite a distinguished hat. Painted, probably carved out of cedar. And using traditional fibers, you can see, for the tie to the hat. There's Dr. Rosita Whirl waving to you. Behind her, Albert Kukesh, kind of pointing out that the camera was looking over in Dr. Whirl's direction. There's Jackie Johnson. Also among that group is Dr. Walter Sobolov, the chairman of the Sealaska Heritage Institute. Over 90 years old and incredibly energetic. Now you see a little bit of dance showing off for our Hawaiian guests. Now, pretty quick, you can see we have a flag coming up. I'm not quite sure what the flag represents. It's not unfurled, but it does say Tlingit on it. I think it may be the Central Council banner coming through. The Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska was created by Congress to be the tribal representative for Southeast Alaska Native peoples and administers the Tlingit and Haida Judgment Trust. Yeah, that trust represents the reparations for the United States taking the Tongass National Forest from the Tlingit and Haida and Tsimshian people. One of our elders, they so love to participate that they come in their wheelchairs. We are so proud to have them. Now you can see our elder coming by the Hawaiians right now, being pushed by a young man. Many people make significant sacrifices to put away money to come and stay in Juneau during all, actually 4 or 5 days worth of activities. It's around 3 days of celebration. On Sunday, there will be a picnic and canoe races out at Sandy Beach. One of the art forms that has kind of been preserved is the carving of the traditional canoes. And although traditional canoes were carved out of wood, a number of canoes have been made out of fiberglass, and they are used to race in various communities. Sitka and here. In fact, when the Olympic torch came through Juneau, Sealaska Heritage Institute trustee Ethel Lund was asked to carry the flame in a canoe that traveled in Gastineau Harbor. Celebration 2002 is celebrating our ha'atu, our artwork. We don't really think of it as artwork. We think of it as a part of us. Our clan crests represent our people, represent our oral history, our traditions. We bring out our ha'atu at prominent significant gatherings, potlatches, celebration, it does come out. These are items that you will probably not see unless you're invited to a traditional potlatch or unless you come to celebration. Now you'll see a dance group coming with a number of paddles. Each representative of the dance group seems to have a paddle. One of them carrying the logo of the Alaska Native Sisterhood. The Alaska Native Brotherhood and Sisterhood are the longest lived fraternal organizations of Native people. Started in 1912, I believe, for the Alaska Native Brotherhood. Fought on issues of social justice for all Alaska Native people for 90 years now. There are some of the beautiful paddles coming through. And you'll be seeing a number of our very, very young dancers. Especially the young men love to show off. They've forgotten to be single, trying to impress the young ladies. This group is coming in with mostly tunics. They're probably from the Yakutat area. The Yakutat is sort of in that melting pot between Eyak, Aleut, Athabascan, and Tlingit people. A lot of their regalia has adopted the tunic style of the Athabascan. A lot of the beadwork on their tunics will consist of some of the floral patterns that Athabascans utilize. Introductions of the dignitaries that are on the stage. It's been a pleasure being with you for about the last 45 minutes. And I hope you'll join us for continuing coverage in the evenings of Celebration 2002, Sealaska Heritage Institute's biennial cultural celebration.
You sit down and rest for a while. We need some room here. I want to welcome all of you. It was interesting to watch our Hawaiian friends do a Tlingit line dance. We've been to Hawaii a few times and they were always slow and graceful. I think we tweaked their culture a little bit today into something faster. It's a real privilege to start this celebration off. Stakadohan gunachi shui au tusiakam. If the drummers can find a place to move to, we're done with you up here. And now we begin with the program of introducing the We would like the Hawaiians to stay right there. You can't stay on the stage, though. Dr. Sobolov has been with us for a long time. They didn't say 20 years and 50 years long ago. They used to say, Chak, and then you knew it was a long time. The listener had to understand the length of that long sound. It's always a pleasure to introduce our own Dr. Sobolov. Kajakti, iidawa kuwaha, kunastishu kuyanaska.
It'll be that way, my father's people, Singit Protocol. Welcome, participants, and all TV viewers throughout Alaska. We salute the state of Alaska. We had a lot of drumming here, a lot of action, a lot of dances. And you who are in the audience stood in celebration of the dancers coming in. And what an honor you gave all the dancers who came in. And now, let us bow for a moment in silent prayer to honor the memory of those who have departed since we had the last celebration 2 years ago. Will you bow with me in silent prayer to the memory of those who are no longer with us? Let us have silence. Amen. "20 years ago, our elders sensed the glory of traditional ceremonies, including family values, was vanishing, such as respect, careful communication, loyalty, care of land, helping one another, learning, upholding customs and traditions, honor, humor, and spirituality. Therefore, our elders encouraged Sealaska Corporation to support what is now the 20th celebration held every other year, directed by Sealaska Heritage Institute. We remember the elders' charge to us at that time. They said in the Tlingit language, "Cha'ayahayi aya gachtuti," "Cha'ayahayi aya gachtuti," meaning in the English language, we will do an image of traditional ceremonies. Participating will be those singing and wearing their clan at'u. And the at'u in the Tlingit language means the crest of each clan. And these are looked upon honorably. It is the clan symbol. There is general dance movement. However, various animals of the clan, they imitate these. If it's a killer whale clan, they imitate the killer whale. If it's a salmon, they imitate the salmon leaping. And so you will see throughout the celebration the various clans and the movements imitating their clan emblem. There are minor and major ceremonies. These will be reenacted. A part of this ceremony is an imitation of the major ceremony, meaning guests are here from out of town. And you can imagine with every ceremony years ago, there was a huge banquet, lots to eat. Just imagine we had that banquet. We welcome all of you who have participated. We welcome you in the audience, and we welcome statewide people who are enjoying this celebration with us. Ye'owa, ye'owa, goodness cheesh, goodness cheesh.
Our next speaker is the chairman of the Sealaska board. There was a great fire in Juneau a couple days ago. I don't know why Albert had his things stored someplace where there was going to be a fire. He said all his new underwear burned up. It's a pleasure to introduce my brother Albert Kukesh.
On behalf of the Sealaska Board of Directors, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to continue to pledge to you, especially those who are shareholders of Sealaska Corporation, that we will continue to support Sealaska Heritage Institute and Celebration. This is the 20th. We're hoping that someday there'll be a 50th and maybe 100 of these celebrations, and we're going to continue to support it for as long as we want to have it continue. I want to commend to you Senator Lincoln, who is going to be here today, who's a new senator for the Southeast Island District, and Representative Reggie Jewell from Kotzebue, who is here today. But I also especially want to point out to you Senator Kim Elton. And because I have a message for you, Senator Elton, we've outgrown this facility, and you need a new facility in Juneau for us to continue to have it. For those of you who are dancers, I want to tell you how proud I was to watch you come in. One of the major obstacles in Alaska for those of us who are Alaska Native is how we are perceived as a people. And we want to raise that perception so everybody in Alaska could see how proud we are of our culture and of our heritage. And when you put on your mother's crest and you walk in here and you are proud people, it makes everybody look at us and realize how proud we are of not only of ourselves and our mother's crest, but of our culture. And you have made us proud, and people all over Alaska has seen you come in this building with your mother's crest on, and they realize how proud you are as a people. And for those of us who are watching you come in, and for those children who are in our villages yet who watched you come in, thank you very much for being proud people. Clarence, sit down, I outrank you. The last thing to all of you dancers, when you put on your mother's crest and you dance for your grandfathers and your grandmothers, because your uncles and your aunts are watching you.
I didn't introduce him by his Tlingit name. His Tlingit name is Kashan. It means the brains. And that's why he was trying to put me down. Our next speaker is our own Chris McNeil, the president of Sealaska Corporation. He's a killer whale, and his name is Chikuni Hago.
Thank you very much, Clarence. I guess I'm doomed to follow Albert Kukesh. That was really excellent. My name is Chikuni. I'm of the Daklaradi clan, and I wanted to take a moment of personal privilege to introduce my wife, Mary McNeil, from the Winnebago tribe. And also my dad is out here, Chris McNeil Sr. of Nisga'a Nation. You know, people travel from all over the country and all over the world to be here with us. It's really a great pleasure to honor our invited guests as well. My wife Mary's cousin, Louis LaRose, came all the way from Winnebago, Nebraska, and he's right out here too, former tribal chairman. And our guests from Hawaii, all the way from Hawaii to be here with us. And I couldn't go without recognizing a very special guest who many of you may not know, LaDonna Harris, who came all the way from Oklahoma. You should know that she and her husband, former Senator Fred Harris, helped us a whole lot in 1971 land claims. Thank you. Ganesh. Thank you all for coming, and welcome to Celebration 2002 on behalf of Sealaska Corporation, the Board of Directors, and all of the 16,500 shareholders and the staff. It's really, truly amazing that this is our 20th anniversary. So it's a really special time for all of us. As a business corporation, we live in a world of investments and global competition. And all of this can be very absorbing to us, but sometimes we need to really stop and take the time to remember just who we really are. Being here reminds me that I had the chance to participate and witness the development of Celebration 82. I wanted to give you just a very short moment of history. In 1981, the Board of Trustees appointed an Elders Advisory Committee. It consisted of the traditional leaders of the communities all over southeastern Alaska. It was that Elders Committee that in 1981 created Celebration 82. And they had the insight to know that they would make these celebrations a new tradition. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize the Board of Trustees and the officers from 1982 and the Elders Advisory Committee. I think it's important to recognize them. They included my uncle, who was the chairman, Judson Brown, the trustees at the time, John Hope, Al Woodmark, Bob Martin Sr., Clarence Jackson, Bob Sanderson, Rosita Worrell, and Tony Jones. Our Sealaska Heritage president, who showed great traditional leadership at the time, was David Katzik. Thank you very much, Ganesh Chief. We should also remember the Elders Advisory Committee by name. I have a picture. It's really an archival picture, and we're going to put this in our newspaper so that we can all remember who they were, because many of them are sadly not with us anymore. These were the leaders. And the Elders Advisory Council included David Katzik, Judson Brown, Esther Littlefield, Richard King, Thomas Jackson, Catherine Mills, Buddy Bremner, Austin Hammond, Sylvester Peel Sr., Thomas Young, Walter Soboloff, Paul Jackson, Horace Marks, and Paul Marks. Ganesh Chief to them. So we should be particularly grateful to these elders who in 1981 conceived Celebration 82. And they had the wisdom to know that celebration was just what we needed. We needed to be able to celebrate our culture, and most of all, we needed it for our children. Celebration brings all of this into focus for me personally, and it reminds me of the real reason for Sealaska. We're the stewards of our Aboriginal lands, the lands in which our people have survived and prospered, and which we're building our future. And today I've met many elders and have listened to their wise counsel. and to their words of encouragement. I've seen the faces of the young people and people speaking our native language. And I'm really strengthened by everything that I see here today. And today is a day that we can all connect with one another. Today is a day for our culture and our heritage. And it's a day for learning more about our cultural treasures. So the celebration belongs to all of us. Thank you very much for allowing Sealaska to be part of this. Kanashkish.
Thank you very much. They said that there's a balance in everything that we do, the ravens and the eagles. There's 3 eagles up here and 1 raven. She makes up for 10 more. Marlene Johnson doesn't talk Tlingit, but you be careful what you say by her in Tlingit. She can bite your head off. It's a pleasure to introduce Marlene Johnson. She's the chairman of the celebration committee. And once in a while we try to tweak things a little bit, and she comes in and says, this is the way we're going to do it, and unfortunately that's the way we do it.
Thank you, Clarence. It's been my pleasure to serve on the celebration committee for about 10 years, and the chairman the last 4 years. And it's been a great pleasure to give orders to Clarence Jackson, who's older than I. For those of you who don't know, I'm Marlene Johnson. I'm of the Raven moiety. I'm a Duck Dainton from the Snail House in Hoona. The real name of the Snail House is the Mount Fairweather House, and that's what our dance group is named after. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to be here today, and particularly to watch these wonderful young Hawaiian men dance. I enjoyed every movement. Today, my responsibility here, though, is to introduce to you a wonderful person that's been a friend to us as a Native people all over the state of Alaska, to us as a rural people, and just a good friend to the state of Alaska. So today, I introduce to you Fran Ulmer, who is the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Alaska and is completing her 2nd term as the Lieutenant Governor, the first woman to be elected to this or any other statewide office in the state of Alaska. Over the years, Fran has shown an understanding and commitment to the things that matter to all Alaskans, making sure our children are safe, supporting vocational training and education, supporting our young people no matter where they live. In the area of elections, Fran depoliticized and modernized the process in the state of Alaska. We are no Miami. She continues to be an advocate for children and families and has worked to increase voter registration and participation for our young people in this state. She serves on many federal boards and commissions, but she still finds time to be a volunteer big sister to young people. Fran has served as a mayor of the city of Juneau and also as a state legislator, so she understands the issues both from local and the statewide perspective. Anyone will tell you that Fran Ulmer works hard. She studies the issues, but she's not afraid to say, I don't understand, please teach me. And she actually listens to you when you talk to her, which is a rare commodity among politicians. She is known statewide for her tireless work in telecommunications, helping the state of Alaska enter the 21st century. She has been a great supporter of the fishing industry. She developed the development of the economy around that industry and other industries within the state of our natural resources. She has supported the sanitation services for rural Alaska. We all know how badly they are needed. She's worked hard on issues like subsistence. And let me tell you, Fran supports subsistence for rural Alaskans and Native people. And I think we owe her a great thank you. Don't get in a hurry, Fran. I'm still talking. You gotta, I'm cut it short. She led the governor's quiet diplomacy effort in 1995, listening and learning of the issues around the state of Alaska. She continued to work on recommendations as a member of the Governor's Subsistence Task Force in 1997. She spoke eloquently for constitutional amendment during the Governor's Subsistence Summit that I had the pleasure of serving on last year. And she continued to be an outspoken subsistence advocate, and she is today. She has been adopted by the Eagle Moiety Kakwantan clan, Agnes Bellinger, and you saw her dance in with them today. If I were to read all of the accomplishments of Fran, I'd be here all afternoon and we wouldn't get to dancing. So I'll simply introduce to you our friend, your friend, Fran Ulmer, Lieutenant Governor for the state of Alaska. Fran?
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be with you for celebration. And I know you're feeling what I'm feeling, a tremendous amount of excitement and respect for not only the culture that we have seen this morning, but for the leaders who have made it possible. My name is Kinze. I am an adopted Tlingit, Kakwantan, and I want to pay respects to Agnes Bellinger for my adoption, which she arranged in response to the recommendation of her mother, Jenny Klenault. It was an honor to dance in this morning with my brothers and sisters, and an honor to be seated here on this stage with these distinguished elders and leaders of our community. We have come a long, long way. In 20 years, think about it. This gathering was a group of about 15 different groups and about 150 people, and today over 50 groups and maybe 2,000 participants. This is a blessing. We are here to pay respect, to honor the treasures. And the first treasures that I think we need to honor are those elders who participated in the Elders Committee, who had the vision of celebration and what it could achieve. And so let's take just a moment to say thank you to those elders, those who have passed, those who are with us today, who not only created celebration, but who taught, who explained, who shared, who gave it the blessing to make it possible for us to celebrate here today. Let us say thank you to them. And I think the other treasures that we need to celebrate today are the volunteers. Because like Marlene and her committee and all of the people who work so hard, you can't make something like this happen without an amazing amount of work. So to the volunteers and the committee, and certainly to Sealaska Heritage, thank you for continuing this wonderful tradition. It helps make all of us strong. Thank you. The treasures that we are honoring today, both the people, the beautiful regalia, the dancing, the song, the drumming, all of this gives us strength. And the beautiful thing that I believe that is happening across Alaska today as we look at Celebration 2002, but really all across Alaska, as the many people, the various Native people of Alaska are celebrating their culture, something special is happening. It's called respect. Respect. That's what we all want, isn't it? Regardless of our age, or our color, or our clan, or our country of origin, or our physical condition, it's what we want as Alaskans, as humans. It's respect for who we are, the gifts we bring, the culture that we call our own, and the things that we can contribute back to the community, to the state, to the society we live in. Respect. And so this celebration 2002 is a powerful reminder of this important thing that all humans want and deserve: respect. We have respected the native people of Alaska by celebrating today. We have respected the native people of Alaska by repatriating the treasures that were stolen from this state so long ago. And I know that there are some people here today from Ketchikan and Saxman. Ketchikan and Saxman last year had the return of treasures from the Peabody Museum and the Smithsonian Museum, and those museums back east that got those treasures that were stolen 100 years ago. They were returned to Ketchikan last year. I was there and watched on the dock as the totem poles and the posts were taken off the ship and brought onto the dock and carried with great love and respect back to the Sanya Kwan, back to Saxman, back to the place of their home. This is something to rejoice in. And I want to commit to you today that I stand by you for the repatriation and the return of these important objects, because it makes a culture whole. And we must do this. And the beautiful Tlingit and all of the beautiful weavings that Jenny Klenault did that have been returned to the Kagwantan, it reminds us, Jenny, although she's not with us today, was a great teacher, and her students continue to weave the Chilkat blankets, and her spirit lives on through her students and through the blankets. She was a great teacher. She is another treasure that we pay respect to today. And in this room, there are teachers who have taught the dancing, the drumming, the singing, the beading, the blanket making, the carving. All of these people and the treasures and their teaching are a gift that we celebrate today. So I just want to again say thank you. Thank you to the elders who made this celebration happen 20 years ago. Thank you to the volunteers and the organizers who have kept the dream alive and have organized and made it possible for us to be here. To say thank you to the teachers and the bearers of the culture who make it possible for us to pass this on to the generations to come. To say thank you to the dancers who will, over the next few days, share with great enthusiasm and passion their love and their culture. And thanks most of all to the children who are here with us, who in turn will pass on this celebration of culture, this celebration 2002, pass it on to the 5th generation ahead of us, so that Alaskans, not only today but long into the future, can recognize how special it is to live in a place with the diversity and the richness of the culture that Alaska has. Gunash Chish. I just want you to know that I was handed the proclamation by Governor Tony Knowles, and although I will not read it, I want you to know that he is not in Juneau today. He would be with us if he was here, but in spirit, in this proclamation, he celebrates this event, the culture of Alaska's Native people, and congratulates you all for being part of this. Thank you very much. And Clarence, I'll give this to you. Thank you very much.
I think she was always a Kagwantan. They talk a long time. They said on the program, I get these little instructions, you know, and one of them in big print was don't make any political statements. But I'm going to vote for Fran. Because we're going to have a new building next time. Seemed like I said this at the last celebration. The Heritage Institute of Sealaska Corporation doesn't operate by itself. It operates on people that can write grants and make things happen. It distributes money from Sealaska to students. But a lot of the Tlingit stories and the Haida stories, and I think the Tsimshians coming down the pike, are written in books and in tapes through grants that came to Sealaska Institute. And that happened through the leadership of Rosita, and she's the executive director. She makes a lot of things happen. She travels a lot to Washington, D.C. to museums. She got involved in repatriating our things that were taken from the villages long ago. We appreciate Rosita in the role that she plays in making things happen for Celebrations 2002. Rosita Worrell.
The work of the Heritage Foundation comes from our people, comes from our ancestors, and comes from our communities. The Board of Trustees has always told me that you will never be able to save our culture. You will never be able to restore our culture from Sealaska Plaza 1. It has to be within our communities. And that is the philosophy that we have tried to implement, is to try to bring the programs into our community. A few years ago, the Board of Trustees established a new direction. And that direction was said that we are going to focus on our language, the restoration of our language. And one of the first things that they did was they looked at other models. They looked at other communities, other indigenous groups that were in the same state as we, where only our elder people were speaking the language. And so today it is only fitting that we have some of those teachers here, for what we learned, the models that we learned, came from the Hawaiians. And to them we are grateful for that lesson. Thank you. We recently went to Huna, and the children were having a play. And they were doing it all in Tlingit. And they had a young boy on the side interpreting for their parents. I think we have made some progress. Here in the Juneau School District, we have another program, K through 2. And I know at first there was some resistance to implementing that program. But what has been demonstrated is that our children who learn our language and our culture perform academically better. Their scores are better than in other classes where those children aren't taking our language and our culture. And so that is our goal: restoration of our language, perpetuation of our culture, and academic achievement. And so under the leadership of people like Kitty Eddy, that program is a success, and I understand that the Juneau District is now committed to continuing that program. I know that other communities are beginning their language programs, and to them, we are going to do everything that we can to help them, because this is where it's going to happen. And we also have a cadre of young people who are also learning the language at the university, and more recently, Hans Chester was featured as probably one of the youngest persons who is really, he knows the language. He's learning the language, and he's been studying under Florence Shakely. And so we really acknowledge those kinds of achievements of our people. We are committed to continuing the work and expanding the work now into the arts. And thus we had our first very successful juried art show. I would encourage all of you to go over to the Alaska State Museum. The Alaska State Museum is our partner, and we had 4 winners. It was just marvelous pieces. Before, it used to be that we had to go back to the museums to see our great art. But now we know that our people are producing great art, almost as good as our ancestors. So please visit the Alaska State Museum. It is my pleasure today to introduce some very, very special people. Of course, the most special people to us as Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people are our elders and our clan leaders. So we acknowledge you and respect you and look to you for more teaching. Thank you to our elders and our clan leaders. Gunal Chief. And also to our dancers, because we know that they spend hours and hours of practicing their dancing, singing, and drumming. And we know that many of them have to raise a lot of money to come to town. And we are just truly grateful that they continue to do that. And so we acknowledge them. Our Lieutenant Governor also acknowledged a very important core of people, and that is the volunteers. Without the volunteers, we could not have a celebration. So let us acknowledge both our dancers and our volunteers. In addition to these very, very special guests, and I did want to say, when Lieutenant Governor said that the governor handed her that proclamation, I said, that was Andy Abona. So, oh, I don't know, maybe that's of things to come. But we do have some very special guests with us here today, and I would like to acknowledge them. The first is the president of our own Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indians of southeastern Alaska, Edward Thomas. We can be so proud of what Edward does, not only here in Juneau, but he has achieved for our people at the national level a reputation of leadership. He brings that leadership to the national level, and we are grateful to him for that. Thank you, Edward. And one of his tasks, one of his many tasks, is to begin to train the next wave of leaders. And so today it is my pleasure to introduce to you our Miss Tlingit and Haida, Amber Ibar from Huna. She is now living in Anchorage. Go ahead, walk out there, Thank you for being such a good model for all of our young children. We also are very privileged to have another national leader from Alaska. And I'm so proud that when I see this woman leading the very distinguished body of the National Council of American Indians, I can say, Achat. May I introduce to you Jackie Johnson, the Executive Director of the National Congress of Indians, and a Shlukachadi. I mentioned that we had our first juried art show, and we had many artists who brought in and participated, but above all, we were very, very, very fortunate that someone who has a national and international reputation as an acclaimed artist agreed to be our head juror. And so I would like to introduce to you Robert Davidson, our head juror for the first Sealaska Juried Art Show. And I don't know if you've seen the poster that we have of the Juried Art Show, but it has his mask, and the mask is called Raven Discovering the First Haida People. So, and we were supposed to have his aunt here who is going to give us his genealogy because he is also Tlingit. We also, was mentioned earlier, another very special guest, but I do want to acknowledge her again because she has made many contributions in and of her own right. I always say that the success of a parent or of an individual is when they can show that their children are successful, well-adjusted, and happy. And I know that this woman has achieved it because I met her daughter the other day, and now she is leading the program. May I introduce to you again a very good friend, LaDonna Harris, President for the American Indians Opportunity, and her group of 14 ambassadors. We have 14 of the ambassadors here, including one of our very own adopted Kiksadi, Tom O'Clesic. Welcome to Alaska and welcome to Celebration 2002. The Sealaska Heritage Institute also paid very special recognition to another individual who has made great contributions to the development and the study of Northwest Coast art. And his work has provided the material that many of our young artists today who are not able to study under masters. Before, we used to have our apprentices studying with masters. In a few rare occasions, we do have that. But this gentleman's book is used by many of our people, and we wanted to acknowledge his contributions to the Northwest Coast art. If I could introduce to you Bill Holm. Bill Holm, would you just come forward, step forward, please, so they can see you. Thank you very much, Bill, for all of your hard work. I would also like to acknowledge someone very special. I know that we have many of our own people who are elected to serve on school boards within our own community. But to be elected to the school board in the largest city of Alaska, where our people represent but a small minority, I would like to introduce to you the first Alaska Native person elected to the Anchorage School Board, and also my dear Aunt Mary Marks. Kagwantan. And the new general looks like, new admiral. And last, I wanted to introduce another very special person who couldn't be up here today because we had to keep him back there. Patrick Anderson, look in the back over there. Patrick Anderson. Patrick is on our Board of Trustees, but one of the things that we're doing now is that we are broadcasting statewide. In addition to that, This celebration can be seen nationally through K2, its website. And so what Patrick and our other moderators and guests will be doing is they will be explaining our culture. We want to share our culture with other people. And so this is one of the ways that we think that we could do it. And so we wanted to thank Patrick and the other moderators and guests who will be doing this. And I also, if I could, I just wanted to say a special hi to, I know they're out there, our board of directors of the Alaska Federation of Natives, and especially Trefon, because I know Trefon Anguson was watching it, and we got a message. He wishes he were here, and we wish he were here too. We know that we are entering into the country of the Kagwantas. I'm trying to give you this land. We know that we are entering into the traditional homeland of the Akwaan. And whenever we entered into someone else's land, for we had very strong rules about the ownership of property. We knew that we had to seek permission to enter that land. And so we like to acknowledge the Akwaan for allowing us to hold celebration in their home, even though they may not have the fee simple title to Juneau. To us, we know that this is always the homeland of the Akwaan. And so we would like to invite the Mount Juneau Tlingit dancers to do their welcome dance for us.
Just got a little bit stage fright. My mom said we're going to sing just one more song to welcome each and every one of the Tlingits, the Haitis, the Tsimshians, and the Hawaiians for coming to Juneau. And celebration so far has started off with a huge success. And again, I had a speech all planned out to say, but welcome each and every one of you. I know you have traveled far, and you come into our community. Once again, I don't know how to express myself, is welcome. Our song that we're going to sing for you is Chadat Gasa. That happens to be one of the favorites. And this song was composed by Andie. And this is Bessie Fasaya's uncle. First verse is, I don't know what I'm looking for, my father's place. The second verse is, I couldn't get the answer. It was like we were praying.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We tried to meet everybody, but we were running back and forth from the airport to the ferry terminal and back in town to perform. So I'm sorry we missed greeting some of you, and I apologize for that. Welcome to our country. This is our country. We are the original settlers here in Juneau. And I hope you all enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Thank you, Ox, for letting us come to your country. Thank you for letting us pick blueberries in your country. Rosa really did try to meet as many dance groups as she could, and she called me on the phone, and she says, "Where's Donald?" And I said, "He ran out to meet the Hawaiians." And she started laughing. She said, their plane has been delayed for 3 hours. And so she didn't go out there, but Donald and our crew did. And fortunately, Walter Sobolov Jr. went out too. And so we apologize to the Hawaiians because we only had one there to greet you, but we could all blame Rosa because she said that you guys were going to be late for 3 hours. We also have another dance group from Juneau, and they wanted to also offer you a very special greeting, and we would like to invite the Juneau Tlingit dancers.
Achtwasi group in Kish, Anyakitsani. It's a distinct pleasure for our group, the Juneau Tlingit Dancers, to be here this morning to greet all of the incoming dancers, the incoming singers, our visitors from across the ocean, and all of our treasured elders. The song we have chosen for a greeting song is called Yaith Nabudi, Ravenville. Go. Thank you. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoy the rest of the celebration. We've been looking forward to this for months. Thank you.
Okay, a couple of announcements. We're going to move the photo to Saturday. It's raining out there, and we don't want the ladies' hair to spoil while they're waiting for the photographer. And so we're moving it to Saturday at what time? 4:30. So if you'll all be at least here for the photo, you'll have your picture in the photo and you can buy it later. I want to thank Donald Bremner for a tremendous amount of work to put this celebration together. Donald's been putting everything together, and we've relied on him more than we should, but we did. And Donald's done a tremendous job. Can we give Donald a hand? His hair is getting gray, and it's getting thin because of this celebration. Anyway, our celebration will take a break until 1 o'clock. We have a memorial fund box here, and if you have someone you'd like to donate in memory of Marlene Johnson and Dr. Sobolov and Rosita and Patrick Anderson, will receive your donation. Ethel Lund, and we'll announce it as we go along. We thank all of you, and we're going to print it in the book later, and they'll come out in the newspaper also. Rather than take the time to have a memorial service, this is the way we're going to handle it this time. We thank you all for being here. I know you're tired and you need to go take a rest, and some of you have breakfast even. And I noticed some of these people aren't eligible to be sitting up here among the elderly, but we're going to overlook it this time, especially that Obert guy. The rest of you, thank you so much for being here this morning, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock. She says 1:30, but try to be here.
You've been watching the opening ceremonies of Celebration 2002. That's the Sealaska Heritage Institute's biennial celebration. This is the 11th one that's been conducted since 1982. Just a little bit of background and explanation. It started out with what's called the grand entrance, and we'll finish late Saturday night with the grand exit. You saw a number of drummers on stage, and the dancers then danced in from outside of Centennial Hall.
Thank you.
And
If we
covered
could
both
clear
wings of
the
hall.
room so the people
One
can
of the
finish
prominent
putting up the
events was
chairs,
the arrival of the
and
Hawaiians, our
we'll
guests
see you at 1:30.
this year.
Thank you.
They danced in and occupied center stage. Then when the dance group was finished in, we had our program. One thing about Northwest Coast cultures, we have ceremonies that last for a long time. We recognized a lot of our dignitaries. Jackie Johnson, the president of the National Congress of American Indians. Chris McNeil, president of Sealaska Corporation. LaDonna Harris, who is president of the Americans for Indian Opportunity, has her group of ambassadors here. LaDonna was introduced a couple of times. Dr. Walter Sobolov, who is the chairman of the Sealaska Heritage Institute. Dr. Rosita Whirl, who is president of the Institute. And one thing that you did see throughout the coverage was how Tlingit humor interplays into ceremonies like this. Our living treasure, Clarence Jackson, you saw a number of times make comments about his brothers and sisters and clan members. I guess that plays off into the legislature. You did see Representative Albert Kukesh acknowledge Senator Kim Elton with we expect to see a new Centennial Hall next celebration. The same thing was true when Lieutenant Governor Fran Ulmer was introduced. The opening comments and ceremonies are very important in Tlingit culture. You did see that Dr. Whirl acknowledged that we were entering onto the land of the Akquan people. Kwan refers to community or village. The Akquan are the traditional inhabitants of the Juneau area, and in traditional Tlingit culture, we've been invited to their country, and so they performed their welcoming dance and song for us. And then the Juneau Tlingit dancers, also from this area, wished to welcome us. The celebration welcomes dance groups who come in from out of town at each airplane, at each ferry landing. They do it with dancers to acknowledge that that Tlingit custom is still alive and strong. Traditional Tlingit welcoming protocol means that you meet your guests, that you have a dialogue with them. Why are you here? We're here at your invitation. Welcome, come onto our land, and then there will be days of feasting and celebration and protocol. That's what's going to go on next. We're going to be resuming at 1 o'clock. There had been a panoramic photograph scheduled for 11:30. That has been postponed. It'll now happen at 4:30 on Saturday, and that's because of weather. Ron Klein, a tremendous photographer with a unique camera that takes panoramic photographs, has, I think, almost every celebration has taken a panoramic photo of the participants, and that will continue with this 11th celebration. So we're going to be taking a break. You've been watching live coverage of the opening ceremonies of Celebration 2002, sponsored by the Sealaska Heritage Institute. Live coverage on K2 will resume at 6:30, but performances will be going on this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you back with us soon.
We need
Thank you very
everyone to
much.
clear the room, please, so we could set up the chairs. Thank you.